This is the group project that will be presented by Group 6. This is our team, and I am Nimade Karina Putri Winarsa with student ID number 21120212114. Here, we have two topics, such as first, the strengths of qualitative and quantitative researchers, and the second one is the weaknesses of qualitative and quantitative researchers. The strengths of qualitative research based on objective or purpose is providing complex descriptions about how people experience about issue. The example is like maybe the research is about the importance of mental health education in curriculum at school. So we will talk or we will gain information about students' experience in burning out while they are studying, students' anxiety when they get low score at school, and etc. Then for the quantitative, it provides more content for creative and also marketing teams. As we know that the result of quantitative research will be interpreted in like diagram, graphics, or like a chart. So it will be like have related to creative and also marketing teams. Then we move to the sample. In qualitative research, the interviews are not limited to particular questions. It means that if you already have 15 questions in your list that you want to ask to your respondents, it means that you can't do it flexible. Like if you want to add more questions, you can do that, or if you want to reduce some questions, you also can do that. It based on your respondents' need. So because every respondent has different stories, has different experience, so our questions must be so flexible with their stories. So you can add it as much as you want if it can help you to gain more information about your respondent. In quantitative research, we will get larger sample. It is because the result of our research, quantitative research, will be accurately generalized with using great or larger or wider samples. We move to the data collection. In qualitative research, the data is collected from a few individuals or cases. Why? It is because in qualitative research, we will understand and also learn about humans, people's or respondents' background, experience, and development. It makes us feel like we really need to put or pay attention to their development too. The example is maybe you want to do a qualitative research on the ability of students since they were in the first semester of their college until the very final year of their college. Then you will see the development of ability of your respondents since the very first semester until the final year. Therefore, you cannot conduct this qualitative research on a large community because you really need to put attention on your respondent, and it takes a long time to get the result. In quantitative research, the data is usually collected quickly and also in a large amount. Why? It is because the questions in quantitative research are curtained and not flexible as qualitative research. The example is like if you decide to give 15 questions to your respondents, so all of your respondents will have the same 15 questions. So it will be like easy for you to collect the data because you just need to share the questions or the questionnaire to your respondent, wait for them to answer it, and they collect or give it to you back, and then you will process the data. So in processing the data, you also can use statistic, or if you just do it manually, you just need to like organize the result or the answer of your respondents. So it will be make you feel easier than qualitative research in collecting or processing the data. Then why it can be in the large amount? Because as I said before, this quantitative research the questions are same in every person. So you can share the questionnaire or the questions to everyone as much as you need. Next, we will talk about data analysis. In qualitative research, the data is more powerful and interesting. It is because we observe or learn about humans, about their experience or their history, their opinion, and also what they believe. So we will get more of variation of the question and also answer. So we will feel like that's so interesting and powerful because we will face more point of view of the respondent.
Hello, I'm Ayu Gede Parimitha with student ID number 21120211090. So now I would like to continue to talk about strengths and also the weaknesses of qualitative and quantitative research. Okay, now I will continue with the strengths first. It is about data analysis. So in qualitative, the strengths of data analysis is the data is more interesting and powerful. Why? Because the data it's content with the another experience or the population experience. And then for the quantitative, the strengths is easier to compile the data onto a chart or a graph. Why? Because the data in a form of numerical, so it will be easier to compile the data into a chart or a graph. Okay, next is about outcome. So for the qualitative, the strengths is the researchers has a clear vision on what to expect. And for the quantitative is research can test experiment because it can be measured the data using statistic. So when we do quantitative research, there the researchers can do a test for the experiment that they choose because the data it can be measured. So when the data is valid or not valid, it can be a form of the test to test the experiment. Okay, now I would like to continue with the weaknesses of qualitative and quantitative research. So the first one is about objective or purposes. So on qualitative, it is more focused on individuals, researchers, and research subject. Why? Because they use a small sample or small population, so they have to focus to get the finding. So they only get the information by focusing on that individuals and also the research subject. For the quantitative, it is more costly than using qualitative research. Why? Because in quantitative, they use a large sample than qualitative, so they have to spend more or they use more costly than using a qualitative research. Next is about sample. So in qualitative, meaning data gathered by qualitative research can be time consuming. So in qualitative, it use a small sample, but they have to get information by observe that time by time. So it can it need a long time to meaning the data or the gathered the data. And for the quantitative, for the sample, finding can be based by researchers' perspective. So in quantitative, we use a numerical or we use data. So here, the researchers can do a basis when they check the data by using statistic.
Okay, my name is Dewa Agung Oktaviyanti Puspita Dewi with student ID number 21120211088. So now I will continue to explain about the weaknesses of qualitative and also quantitative research. So for the first one, I will talk about the data collections. So the quality of the data gathered in qualitative research is highly subjective. So it means actually because of the data collected by doing interviews, so it will based on the participant experience and it not based on the theory. So it often said subjective. And for the quantitative, the researchers often take place in an unnatural setting. So the researchers will create an artificial environment in an attempt to control all the variables that exist on the research. And the next one is for the data analysis. So for the qualitative research, the data rigidly is more difficult to assess and demonstrate. So it's because the data is collected by doing interview, the researchers have to have a skill to interpret the participant meaning. So it must not forget about the main point of the participant. And for the quantitative, the number change often. So if researchers is conducted in a statistical level, then it will have to be conducted much more frequently to help balance out the consistent change of number. And for the last one is for the outcome. Both of qualitative and quantitative research creates findings that are valuable but difficult to present. So for the qualitative, if the researchers doesn't have the skill of qualitative research, then it will be difficult to present the result of qualitative research. And it's same for the quantitative research. If the researchers don't have the skills of quantitative, so it will be difficult to present the result. So that's all for today. That's all that I can explain for today. Thank you for your attention and see you next time. Bye.